The sun was just rising over New York City when the sky turned gold. People stopped walking. Cars stopped moving. All eyes looked up as a giant ship, shaped like a shining star, slowly floated above the city skyline. It didn't make any noise. It didn't fire any weapons, but the silence made it even more terrifying. Jack Carter, a simple human man working at a garage in Brooklyn, wiped the oil from his hands and stepped outside. He stared at the ship like everyone else. His heart beat faster. He had seen alien ships on TV before, but this one was different. It was too big, too perfect, and it was glowing with symbols no one could understand. Then, without warning, a beam of soft blue light came down from the ship. It landed on the street outside Jack's garage. People ran away screaming. Jack didn't. Out of the beam stepped 5 tall figures wearing golden armor and helmets shaped like dragons. Their eyes glowed like fire. One of them held a scroll in its hand. The leader looked around, then pointed right at Jack. "You," the voice echoed in Jack's head, even though no lips moved. "You are summoned by Queen Valeria of the Star Empire." Jack blinked. "Me?" The armored figure stepped forward. "You have been chosen, by name. The Queen commands your presence." Everyone around gasped. Phones were pulled out. News cameras rolled. But Jack stood frozen. "Why me?" he asked, confused. The alien replied, "That will be revealed to you by the Queen herself." Jack was scared, but something inside him whispered, "Go." He took one last look at the people watching, then stepped into the blue light. In seconds, he vanished. Jack opened his eyes to find himself inside the most beautiful place he had ever seen. The walls were made of glass that shimmered like stars. Floating lights danced through the air like tiny fireflies. The floor felt soft under his boots, even though it looked like crystal. Before him stood a throne, and sitting on it was Queen Valeria. She was tall, elegant, and glowing with silver skin. Her eyes were deep violet, like galaxies. Her long hair moved on its own, as if touched by space winds. Her voice was calm, but it carried power. "Jack Carter," she said, "human of Earth. Do you know why I summoned you?" He shook his head. "No, Your Majesty." She stood and walked toward him slowly, her long robe flowing behind her. "For thousands of years my people have ruled the stars. But our bloodline is fading. We are losing what made us strong. Pure Valerian genetics are too weak to survive the coming age." Jack stared, still confused. "I'm just a mechanic. Why me?" The Queen stopped in front of him. "Because, Jack Carter, human blood is rare, and yours, King, is even rarer. We studied your planet. We studied your records. Out of billions of humans, you are genetically compatible with my royal line." Jack laughed nervously. "So, you brought me here for a science experiment?" The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Not an experiment, a union." She raised her hand. A glowing image of a galaxy appeared between them. In the center, a small star pulsed like a heartbeat. "I offer you a place beside me as my royal consort. You will father the heirs to the throne, future kings and queens of the galaxy." Jack's mouth dropped open. "Wait, what? You want to marry me?" Valeria nodded. "This is not a request. It is a royal command." Jack stepped back. "What if I say no?" The air in the room turned colder. The floating lights stopped dancing. The guards behind her placed their hands on their weapons. The Queen's voice dropped to a whisper. "If you refuse, your world will be seen as an insult to the throne, and insults are not taken lightly by Valeria." Jack's chest tightened. "You'd attack Earth? Because I said no?" The Queen looked into his eyes. "I do not want war. I want life, a future. And you, Jack Carter, you are the only one who can give that to me." Jack looked around. Everything felt too big, too unreal. He was just a normal man. No special powers, no training. But now, the fate of Earth and the future of an alien empire rested on his shoulders. He took a breath. "What happens if I say yes?" A soft smile touched the Queen's lips for the first time. She reached out her hand. Then you will be more than just a man. You will be the father of stars. Jack slowly reached out and took her hand. The lights began to dance. Again. Jack Carter couldn't sleep. The bed was made of soft clouds. The room was full of calm light, and yet, he felt like a prisoner. Every breath reminded him that this wasn't Earth. There were no city sounds, no smell of engine oil, no sky he knew. Only stars. And silence. He sat up, running a hand through his messy hair. The guards had said the Queen would return soon. But hours had passed. Suddenly the wall opened without a sound. Queen Valeria walked in, wearing a dark robe that sparkled like deep space. Her crown was gone. Her face looked softer, almost tired. She didn't look like a ruler right now. She looked like a woman carrying something heavy. Jack stood up. So? Am I still a guest or a prisoner? She didn't smile. That depends on what you decide. Jack crossed his arms. I didn't ask for this. I'm just a guy who fixes engines. Why? Pick me? The Queen sat down on the edge of a low, glowing bench. You're not just a man, Jack Carter. Your DNA carries traits we haven't seen in any alien race. Strength, emotion, resistance to decay. You're stable. You're alive in ways my kind have forgotten how to be. Jack frowned. So I'm your science solution? Valeria looked away. My people have tried everything. We bred our best warriors, we cloned our smartest thinkers, but still, our bodies weaken. Our children, they die before they walk. Her voice cracked for the first time. I had 3. None survived. Jack's heart sank. He had never expected to feel sorry for a queen, but now standing in her silence, he realized she wasn't just trying to save her throne, she was trying to save her children. I didn't know, Jack said quietly. She nodded. No one outside Valeria does. We keep it hidden. A dying empire cannot show weakness. Jack moved closer. But why not pick another alien race? Why Earth? Valeria looked up, eyes glowing faintly. Because your kind fights for love. You build families in chaos. Even your weakest will protect a child with their life. We do not understand this, but we admire it. She stood again. I chose you, Jack, not just for your blood, but because your record showed. You raised your sister after your parents died. You gave up college to work 3 jobs. You fixed machines, but you also fixed people. You saved your drunk neighbor from a fire. You've never been rich, but you've always given. Jack looked at the floor, embarrassed. I didn't do those things to get chosen by a space queen. Valeria walked to him. I know. That's what makes you worthy. Just then, a soft chime rang through the room. A small floating orb appeared beside the Queen and whispered something only she could hear. Her expression changed. She looked sharp again. Cold. Jack noticed. What is it? Valeria's jaw tightened. There's unrest in the council. Some believe the Union is a disgrace. They think mixing human blood will destroy the royal bloodline. Jack's stomach twisted. So, they want me gone? Worse, she said. They want you dead before the wedding even begins. He backed away. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't ask to be hunted in space. She stepped forward. Then marry me, Jack Carter. Stand beside me before the council. Let them see you. Let them fear you. He shook his head. I'm not a king. I'm not a warrior. She held out her hand. You're human. That is enough. The lights in the room dimmed. From the ceiling, an image of a star system appeared, dozens of planets glowing like jewels. One had a red mark. This, she said, is the home of Lord Dravak. He controls 2 fleets. He has already sent assassins to Earth. If you return now, you won't make it out of your city alive. Jack clenched his fists. So Earth's in danger, just because of me? She nodded. If you die, I must choose another planet. But none will give me a child, and your world will burn as punishment. Jack walked to the image of Earth floating in the center. It looked so small, so far away. But it was home. He could almost hear his sister's voice, his old radio, his life. He turned to Valeria. "I'll do it." Her eyes widened. "You will?" He nodded. "Not because I want a throne, or power, but because I want Earth to live, and I want your child to live too." Valeria stepped closer. She placed her palm on his chest. "Then I promise you, Jack Carter, I will give everything to protect what we create." In the shadows outside the chamber, a pair of cold alien eyes watched, and the dagger in the assassin's hand shimmered with poison. The hall was silent. At the edge of space, inside the star-throned citadel, thousands of glowing guests floated gently in the sky like stars. Valerian nobles, alien ambassadors, warlords, and priests had gathered from across the galaxy. They weren't here to fight. They were here to witness something impossible. A human was about to marry the Queen of Valeria. Jack Carter stood alone, in the center of the grand chamber. He wore robes made of living light, stitched by machines older than Earth's pyramids. The weight of the galaxy pressed down on his shoulders. His heart beat fast, but not from fear. From knowing the world would never see him as just a mechanic again. Across the crystal bridge, Queen Valeria entered the room. She wore a crown grown from starlight, her skin glowing silver blue. Her eyes didn't move to the crowd. They stayed locked on Jack as if he was the only person in the galaxy. Jack whispered under his breath, "What am I doing?" Beside him, an old Valerian priest floated forward. He held the Orb of Oaths, an ancient relic that would bind Jack's life to the Queen's forever. One wrong word and the orb would destroy him. That was the law. But Jack didn't flinch. The priest's voice echoed, "Jack Carter of Earth, do you swear to stand beside the Queen through light and shadow, in peace and in fire?" Jack looked into Valeria's glowing eyes. "I do." The orb pulsed softly. "Do you swear to protect the life that will be created through this union, even if it costs you your own?" Jack hesitated, just one breath. Then, "I do." The orb flared. The priest turned to Valeria. "Do you, Valeria of House Solari, last of the royal line, accept this human as your consort and seed-bearer?" Valeria raised her chin. "I do." The orb glowed bright, then melted into the air like mist. The ceremony was complete. But before the crowd could cheer, Jack stumbled. His legs gave out. His vision blurred. He collapsed to his knees. "Jack!" the Queen shouted, rushing forward. Blood ran from his mouth. His skin turned pale. His heart slowed. A scream rang through the hall. Chaos erupted. Guards surrounded the Queen. Guests rose in panic. The ancient priest backed away in horror. A medic drone buzzed over Jack's body. It scanned him quickly. Poison detected. Type: unknown. Origin: non-Valerian. The Queen's voice dropped to ice. "Who did this?" No one answered. Valeria turned to her soldiers. "Lock every exit. Search every noble. If you find the assassin, bring me their heart." Inside the Queen's chamber, Jack lay still on a healing slab. Machines surrounded him, injecting life into his body. But his breath was shallow. Too shallow. Valeria stood beside him, hands shaking. She had faced wars. She had killed tyrants. But this moment, made her feel powerless. One of the healers bowed. "He has strong resistance. His body is fighting the poison, but not fast enough." She leaned down and whispered, "Jack, don't die. Not now. Not after I finally found you." Hours passed. Then, he moved. His fingers twitched. His lips parted. Valeria gasped. "Jack?" He opened his eyes slowly. "That was the worst wedding gift ever." She laughed, a sound no one had heard in years. "You're alive," she whispered. He nodded weakly. "Barely. Feels like my insides took a walk through lava." "You were poisoned," she said. "Someone tried to kill you during the vow." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Was it someone in the room?" Valeria nodded. Most likely. There are many who hate this union. Jack looked up at the ceiling, then smirked. They're really afraid of what we'll make, huh? She touched his face gently. They should be. That night, news spread across the galaxy. The Queen and the human were married. An attempt was made on the human's life. The Queen promised war if it happened again. But deeper in the palace, hidden in the dark, an alien noble watched a small screen. On it, Jack and Valeria spoke softly, hand in hand. The noble growled. The bloodline must not change. If one poison failed, we'll use fire next. And far above them all, a red moon began to crack. A weapon long buried, now waking. The stars outside the palace burned brighter that night. But inside, it was quiet. Jack stood barefoot in the chamber of binding. The air was thick with energy. Soft lights floated around him like sparks. The walls pulsed with warmth like a living heart. He had recovered from the poison, but something inside him had changed. He wasn't just a man anymore. He was now part of something ancient. Queen. Valeria stood across from him wearing no crown, no armor, only a white gown made of silk light. Her long hair flowed over her shoulders. Her face was calm, but her eyes, those violet eyes, held fear. Not fear of Jack, but fear of what came next. Between them floated the cradle flame, a small silver-blue fire that shimmered without heat. It had been lit only 6 times in Valerian history. It was the final step in the royal bond. If the fire touched both of them and lived, they would be united by blood, not just words. But if it died, they would both suffer. Jack broke the silence. So this fire thing, will it hurt? Valeria stepped closer. Only if we're lying to it. He blinked. Lying? She nodded. The cradle flame can sense doubt. It only accepts true desire. True trust. Jack looked into her eyes. What if I'm scared? Valeria smiled softly. Then be scared, but don't run. She raised her hand, palm facing the flame. Jack did the same. The flame began to move. It stretched, like a ribbon of light touching their palms. At first it was warm, comforting, then it burned. Jack gritted his teeth. The fire wasn't fire. It was memory, emotion, fear. He saw his past flash before him. His mother's last breath, the night his father left, the broken promises, the pain of being alone. Then Valeria's voice echoed in his mind. Let it in. Let me in. Suddenly he saw her memories too. He saw her holding a tiny baby in her arms. It wasn't breathing. She screamed, begging the healers to save it, but they couldn't. Then another baby, and another. All gone. Valeria had ruled the stars, but she had never known the warmth of a child's laugh. Jack's heart cracked. The flame grew brighter, then changed color, from blue to gold. A shockwave rippled through the room. The cradle flame flared, then split into 2 and entered their bodies. Jack fell to his knees. Valeria dropped beside him. For a moment, everything was still. Then Jack looked up. What just happened? Valeria smiled, her face glowing. It accepted us. We are now one. Jack touched his chest. He could feel something there. Something alive. Valeria whispered, Life has begun. The air is forming. Jack blinked. Wait, already? She nodded. The bond is not slow. The royal child grows quickly. In weeks I will carry a new future. Jack sat back, stunned. Wow. I didn't think it would feel like this. But before Valeria could answer, a deep alarm rang through the walls. Emergency warning, palace defense breach, intruder detected in the royal sanctum. Valeria stood at once. They found a way inside. Jack got to his feet. What do we do? She turned to him, her voice sharp. You stay here. Guard the chamber. This place is alive. It will protect the heir. Jack shook his head. I'm not hiding. She hesitated, then tossed him a silver dagger. Then fight beside me. The two ran through glowing halls. Lights turned red. Guards lay unconscious on the floor. Black smoke drifted in the air. In the main corridor stood a figure in bone white armor holding a plasma blade. Lord Drivak, the Queen's old war rival. So it's true, Drivak hissed. You've bred with a human. Valeria narrowed her eyes. The child is stronger than anything your bloodline ever produced. Drivak sneered. That child is a threat, a weapon, and I will erase it before it poisons the throne. He raised his blade. Jack stepped forward. Then you'll have to go through me. Drivak laughed. You, a mechanic from Dirt World Earth? Jack gripped the dagger. Doesn't matter where I'm from, I won't let you touch her. Valeria whispered. Together. And they attacked. It wasn't a fair fight, but Jack didn't care. He fought, like Earthmen fought in every war, using grit, pain, and heart. Drivak slashed Valeria's shoulder. Jack stabbed his side. The Queen kicked him into a wall. Jack pinned him down, but Drivak activated a hidden bomb. A flash. An explosion. Jack threw himself over Valeria's body, shielding her. Then, silence. Later, in the Queen's chamber, healers treated their wounds. Valeria looked at Jack. You didn't have to protect me. Jack touched her hand. Yes, I did. You're carrying our child now. I'll protect both of you. She looked at him, eyes shining. You already are. Outside the chamber, far from their sight, the stars moved. And from the darkness beyond the galaxy, something ancient was watching. The palace no longer felt safe. Jack stood near the Queen's side as guards moved through the golden halls, locking every door and scanning every shadow. Lord Dravak's failed attack had shaken the Empire. And yet, Valeria's enemies weren't retreating. They were regrouping. Inside the throne chamber, Queen Valeria met with her most trusted advisors. Jack sat silently at her side, trying to understand their alien language. They spoke in sharp clicks and tones. But one thing was clear. Even her allies were afraid, not of war, but of the child inside her. One general slammed his hand on the glowing table. The unborn heir has not been approved by the Royal Council. This is an abomination of Valerian law. Valeria's voice was cold. The old laws are dead. The bloodline was dying. The child growing in me is the only future our kind has. Another, noble eyes glowing red, growled, Then the old blood will rise again with fire. Valeria stood slowly. Is that a threat? He smiled. No, my queen, it is a promise. That night he disappeared. No one asked where he went. As Valeria's child grew, strange things began to happen in the palace. Doors refused to open, artificial lights dimmed at random, whispers echoed in the empty halls. Jack noticed it first when the water in his room shimmered without wind. He looked up and saw a message flicker across his wall in glowing red. Get out. The child must not be born. He ran to Valeria's chamber, finding her asleep but breathing fast, her skin hot like fire. A medic drone hovered beside her, blinking yellow. She is reacting to dark energy in the palace, the drone said. Unseen forces threaten the life of the heir. Jack clenched his fists. Then why are we still here? Let's leave. Valeria woke up slowly. We can't. If I step outside the Star Palace before the heir is fully formed, my body will reject the child. Jack stared at her. So we're trapped. In a palace full of traitors. She nodded. We must survive until the birth. After that, nothing will stop us. 3 days later, the rebellion began. Jack was walking with a guard unit when the lights went out. Total darkness. Screams echoed. Gunfire. Explosions. From the shadows came assassins, dressed in black, faces covered, moving like smoke. They didn't attack the guards. They ran straight for Jack. Keep him alive, one of them shouted. The Queen must suffer. Jack ran through a side corridor trying to reach Valeria, but the palace had changed. Walls closed behind him. New doors opened in the wrong places. The AI controlling the palace was glitching. No, not glitching. Sabotaged. He turned a corner and froze. There, hanging from the ceiling, was one of Valeria's personal guards. Dead. Blood marked the floor. Suddenly a voice behind him. "You shouldn't have come here, Earthborn." Jack turned. A tall alien in white robes stepped from the dark. His eyes were silver and full of hatred. "I am Grand Priest Malrek, keeper of the sacred line. This rebellion is my doing. That half-blood growing inside your queen is a curse." Jack didn't speak. He stepped back, heart racing. Malrek raised a hand. His fingers glowed with crackling light. "You were a mistake, and now you'll be erased." Before the priest could strike, a silver spear flew through the air, straight into his chest. Valeria stormed into the room, eyes burning, her robe torn, skin scratched. "I warned you," she growled. "Touch him and you die." Malrek fell to the floor, twitching. Jack rushed to her. "You're hurt." She shook her head. "It's nothing, but we don't have much time. The rebels are moving toward the birthing chamber. They want the child." Jack grabbed a blade from a fallen guard. "Then let's stop them." They ran through collapsing halls. Fires spread behind them. Loyal guards held off the traitors, but some fell. Jack fought beside Valeria, his hands covered in blood, body aching, but he didn't stop. Finally, they reached the crystal chamber. It was glowing, humming, alive. The child was ready to be born. But outside, footsteps approached. Hundreds. Valeria looked at Jack. "We can't win this battle, but we can win the future." She placed his hand on her belly. "Stand guard. I'll bring her into the world." Jack stepped in front of the door, sword ready. He didn't know if he would survive the next hour, but he knew this. No one would touch his family. Jack stood alone at the entrance of the crystal chamber. Behind him, Queen Valeria cried out, not in pain, but in power. The child was coming. The air inside the chamber shimmered like lightning trapped in glass. Machines hummed, walls pulsed, and the ground beneath Jack's feet throbbed like a living heart. Outside, boots stomped closer. The rebels were coming. He gripped his sword tighter. He was no soldier, no hero, just a man who once fixed engines and kept to himself. But tonight he was the wall between life and death, between the child's first breath and the enemy's final blow. The first rebel appeared, a pale-skinned alien with red tattoos and black eyes. He carried a plasma spear and laughed when he saw Jack. "You? You're the gatekeeper now?" Jack didn't speak. The alien stepped forward. "Step aside, Earthman. That creature inside your queen must not live. It will be the end of Valeria." Jack answered only with steel. He lunged. Their blades clashed with sparks. Jack fought with every instinct, dodging fast, striking wild. His body screamed in pain, but he didn't fall. The alien landed a strike on Jack's shoulder, but Jack stabbed him through the gut. The rebel fell. But more were coming. Inside, Valeria floated just above the glowing floor, her body surrounded by waves of light. The child inside her pushed forward, not with pain, but with purpose. This was not a weak infant. This was a star-born heir. A voice echoed in her mind. "I'm ready, Mother." Valeria's eyes widened. "You can speak?" "Not with voice, with bond." "I am here. I am strong." Tears formed in her eyes. "Then come, my child. Be born in fire and rise from shadow." Outside, Jack was bleeding. 3 rebels lay at his feet, unmoving. More circled him like wolves. His legs shook. His breath was ragged. Then, the ground cracked. A beam of pure golden light exploded from the chamber, blasting the ceiling open. The entire palace shook. The rebels froze. From the light stepped a child. She looked no older than 4. Skin like moonlight, eyes like twin stars, hair floating as if underwater. She walked barefoot through the smoke and dust and stood in front of Jack. "Daddy," she said softly. "Are you okay?" Jack stared, stunned. You're already—" "I grew fast," she said, "because I had to." The rebels backed away, whispering, trembling. "She's a monster and she's unnatural. She's the end of our kind. The child turned to them. No, she said. I am the beginning. From behind, Valeria stepped out, wounded, but proud. She stood beside her daughter and placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. This is our heir, she declared. A hybrid of two worlds, a bridge of peace or a storm of war. You decide. The rebels didn't answer. They ran. Hours later, the palace lay in silence. The fires had died. The wounded were treated. The dead were honored. And in the heart of the throne room, Jack stood beside his queen and daughter. She already talks like a queen, Jack whispered. Valeria smiled weakly. She is one, born of war, but made for peace. The child climbed into Jack's arms. I dreamed of you, she said. Even before I had a body, he held her close. I didn't dream of you, but now I can't imagine life without you. Valeria leaned into them both. For a moment there was no throne, no crown, just a family. But far away, on a hidden moon, Lord Drevak opened his eyes. He wasn't dead. He watched the scene through a stolen vision crystal. He saw the child. He saw her power, and he whispered to himself, the real war hasn't even begun. The skies above Valeria turned gold. Ships from across the galaxy arrived, not for war but for surrender or for peace. Some bowed, others watched in silence, but no one dared fire a single shot. Because all of them had seen the same vision broadcast through the stars. The child of Queen Valeria and the human Jack Carter had been born, and she was no ordinary child. Inside the palace, the queen sat tall on her throne, but her crown was resting beside her, untouched. In her arms was her daughter, glowing with soft light, small yet powerful, the hybrid heir. Jack stood beside them, armored now, a silver sash across his chest, the queen's consort, no longer just a guest. His wounds had healed, but the weight of what they had survived still lingered in his eyes. Council of leaders from rival planets sat before them. The old laws were dying. New ones were about to be written. An old ambassador from the Drevyak system stood up. This child, he said slowly, is not of our kind. Not of any kind. How do we know she will rule with mercy? Valeria did not speak. Instead, the child stepped forward, barefoot on the glowing floor. She looked no older than 6 now. Her body was growing at an unnatural speed, shaped by royal blood and human spirit. She looked directly at the ambassador. My name is Ariel, she said calmly. I was born of 2 worlds. I know pain from both sides, and I will not rule by fear. She raised her hand. A hologram of Earth appeared. Then Valeria. Then all the gathered species. We are stronger together, Ariel continued. Not just by ships or weapons, but by hearts. The ambassador sat back down slowly. No one spoke. Later that night, Jack sat with Valeria on a quiet balcony, watching the stars. Ariel was asleep beside them, her head resting on Jack's lap. She grows. So fast, Jack whispered. Valeria nodded. By next moonrise, she may look 10. Her mind is already sharper than most rulers I've met. Jack looked down at the sleeping child. Will she ever stop growing? Eventually, Valeria said. When her body decides it's ready. Until then, she learns fast, lives fast, she's not like us, Jack sighed. And yet, she holds my hand like a normal little girl. Valeria smiled. That's the human in her. That's the part I love most. But far beyond their galaxy, in the ruins of an old war station, Lord Drevak prepared. He stood before a massive dark gate, sealed for centuries. Behind it was the Oblivion Beast, a weapon so dangerous, even Valeria's ancestors had buried it. In shadow, it could not be destroyed, only locked away. Drevak raised a blood-soaked key. If a child of peace threatens our power, then we will answer with chaos. He placed the key into the gate. The lock broke open with a hiss, and the galaxy trembled. Back on Valeria, Jack woke to a shiver in the air. He stepped onto the balcony. Stars flickered strangely. Valeria joined him. I felt it too. Something has changed. Just then a signal arrived. A fleet, thousands of ships, was moving toward the throne system. Not for diplomacy, for war. Inside the war chamber, Ariel stood before a galaxy map. She wore a small silver crown, glowing faintly. She pointed to the enemy's location. They're using old travel routes. They'll arrive in 2 days. Valeria turned to Jack. We can run. Hide you both. Jack shook his head. No, we don't run. Not anymore. Ariel looked up at her parents. Let me speak to them. Valeria hesitated. Ariel, they don't want to talk. I know, she said. But I want them to see my face, to see that I'm not a monster. Jack leaned down. And if they still fire? Ariel's eyes glowed. Then I will protect this family, and this world. When the rebel fleet arrived, they were met not with missiles, but with a child's voice across their comms. I am Ariel, daughter of Valeria and Earth. I offer peace, but I do not fear war. Many ships paused, some turned away, others charged forward. And then, from the heart of Valeria, the heirs' light, a wave of pure energy, burst into the sky, shielding the palace and disabling enemy engines. No one died, but no one dared challenge her again. Weeks later, Ariel sat on her throne, small in size but mighty in presence. She had brought peace where kings had failed. She had disarmed fleets without bloodshed. And she had become the symbol of a new age, the age of unity. Beside her stood Jack, proud and humbled, not as a king, but as a father, and beside him, Valeria, the queen who dared to love a human and changed the galaxy forever.